From William Butler Yeats's first collection of poetry, The Wanderings of Oisin and Other Poems, first published in 1889, to his new poems, published nearly a half-century later, William Butler Yeats reinvented poetry with every single new work. His soulful, sonorous, and profoundly thoughtful verse was inspirational to everyone. At the time of his death in January 1939, the Irish Yeats was universally acknowledged as the great English-speaking poet of the 20th century, and his works lived inside of most of the poets who came after him. W.H. Auden in 1939 was watching the world explode again into war and mayhem for the second time in his lifetime. The death of Yeats and this awful truth merged in his mind, inspiring him to write one of the great elegies of all time. In memory of William Butler Yeats, W.H. Auden. He disappeared in the dead of winter. The brooks were frozen, the airports almost deserted, and snow disfigured the public statues. The mercury sank in the mouth of the dying day. What instruments we have agree the day of his death was a dark, cold day. Far from his illness, the wolves ran on through the evergreen forest. The peasant river was untempted by the fashionable quays. By mourning tongues, the death of the poet was kept from his poems. But for him, it was his last afternoon as himself, an afternoon of nurses and rumors. The provinces of his body revolted. The squares of his mind were empty. Silence invaded the suburbs. The current of his feeling failed. He became his admirers. Now he is scattered among 100 cities and wholly given over to unfamiliar affections to find his happiness in another kind of wood and be punished under a foreign code of conscience. The words of a dead man are modified in the guts of the living. But in the importance and noise of tomorrow, when brokers are roaring on the floor of the bourse, and the poor have the sufferings to which they are fairly accustomed, and each in the cell of himself is almost convinced of his freedom, a few thousands will think of this day as one thinks of the day when one did something slightly unusual. What instruments we have agree the day of his death was a dark, cold day. You are silly like us. Your gift survived it all. The parish of rich women, physical decay, yourself. Mad Ireland hurt you into poetry. Now Ireland has her madness and her weather still, for poetry makes nothing happen. It survives in the valley of its making, where executives would never want to tamper, flows on south from ranches of isolation and the busy griefs, raw towns that we believe and die in. It survives a way of happening, a mouth. Earth receive an honored guest. William Yeats is laid to rest. Let the Irish vessel lie emptied of its poetry. In the nightmare of the dark, all the dogs of Europe bark, and the living nations wait, each sequestered in its hate. Intellectual disgrace stares from every human face, and the seas of pity lie locked and frozen in each eye. Follow, poet, follow right to the bottom of the night. With your unconstraining voice, still persuade us to rejoice. With the farming of a verse, make a vineyard of the curse. Sing of human unsuccess in a rapture of distress. In the deserts of the heart, let the healing fountain start. In the prison of his days, teach the free man how to praise.